Hey, I'm Daniel Berger, and this is Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. Welcome to the podcast where Metro New York real estate meets great stories and a douse of humor. Forget the dry sales talk. Here we dive into the fun and unexpected moments of real estate. Join me each week as we explore Westchester, Long Island, the Bronx, and more. You'll hear about the people, the places, and the crazy situations that make this industry so interesting. Thanks to our sponsor, Remax Prestige Properties, we're ready to share the lighter side of real estate. Whether you're a pro, a buyer, or just curious, we've got something for everyone. Ready for today's adventure? Let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Adventures of a Real Estate Broker with Daniel Berger. Today, I'm excited to have Eddie Burnham from South Florida. He has real estate in his blood with his parents being involved and an FSU alum, and actually has his business degree in real estate with 3+ years in as a sales associate. Wanted to introduce and bring on the show Eddie. Welcome, Eddie.
That's correct. Thank you. Excited to be here, Daniel.
So having parents in the real estate business, did that drive you into real estate, or did that make you, not so sure about it? Like what, how long have your parents been doing that, and what are some of the things that you learned along the way?
Yeah, absolutely drove me to be in the business. My mother's been in the industry, real estate industry, for 25 plus years here in Southwest Florida, and my father's been a builder down here for 25 plus years. So he's not necessarily in real estate, but he's in the industry of real estate, but building homes more so on the construction side. Definitely was a factor. That wasn't always my plan going, growing up. I was very into sports, kind of that took my time. But when I went to my orientation at FSU, they were listing out, I figured I was going to be in the business school, somewhere in the business school, didn't really know where I was going to fit. And they were listing off the majors, and they listed off business real estate. And I looked at my mom and I was like, that's it. And just ran with it ever since. So got my degree there, moved back to Southwest Florida, started working full time, and just been running with it ever since. It's been going great. I love it. So.
Having role models is so important. I mean, my family are teachers, so that's kind of what they would have, helped me with. But I was a business school student. I went to Wash U in St. Louis, and I was in the business school. And I tell you, I only wish that they had real estate, because
Right.
real estate
Yeah.
for
I
me is
didn't
like
even know that was a major. Yeah.
re- real estate for me is like my third career. I actually have an MBA in sales and marketing. I've been in
Okay.
management. Um, but real estate is really so passionate for me. And so I'm going to say you're lucky that you had your parents as role models. So especially being a builder, right? Between real estate and builder, I guess you're going to now have to steal some of your dad's business from your mom. So that's it's going to
No,
be a
I
little tight
wish.
around your dinner table, I guess.
I wish, man. I wish. No, no. She gets all of that. That
Well,
stays in
maybe
house.
she'll give you the crumbs, and sometimes it's not bad to start with crumbs. But so tell me a little bit about the degree in real estate, because that interests me, because not that many people do that, and not
No.
that many programs have that, but yet there's so many people in the real estate world that really aren't that actually could use more of a business acumen. So what are some of the things that you learned at an FSU from a real estate perspective?
Yeah, so I mean, you're spot on. Not many people know that's a degree. I didn't know going in, and then when they were listing off, I was like, that sounds right up my alley. I was, the stars really aligned. I ended up Florida State had the number six business real estate program in the nation, so they're a very well connected, well respected program. And I would say that business real estate more so focuses on the commercial side of things more than the residential. So a lot of calculating cap rates, cash flows, things of that nature, but it's all great knowledge to have, whether you're going in one, residential or commercial. So you're learning about real estate law, real estate finance, all those different sectors. And then you're also taking, the business courses as well, and just expanding your knowledge, business calc, managerial accounting, financial accounting. So it really just expands your knowledge. And they had some really good, conferences that big time real estate professionals would come in, and you could meet with them, talk with them, shadow them, and you just learn a whole lot. It was a great program. Highly recommend it. And also a plus. I wouldn't say this would be the driving factor to go get your degree, but uh, most people, when they go to get a real estate license, they have to take some kind of pre-licensing course, correct? Like 60 hours or whatever. With your business real estate degree, you don't have to take any course whatsoever. You just have to take the test. So you kind of bypass that, which is nice.
Yeah, well, I mean, you do have 4 years of learning, and
Exactly,
so
exactly,
it's
exactly.
a lot more. Um, as I said, real estate for me is I'm like 8 years in. This is like my third career basically, but I probably learned the things that you discussed from growing up, right? From being a homeowner, from my wife's an attorney, and just being around and being learning things from that way. But certainly, I feel that you going to school puts you on par with people that have been doing it for 15, 20 years because you were
Exactly.
educated in the things that people kind of learned along the way, right?
And that helped me big time. That was my go-to when I was just getting into industry, because I started real estate at a much younger age than most people start. I started full time at 22 years old, come or maybe it was even 21 years old, coming right out of college. So trying to gain my clients' trust, being a 21-year-old kid, basically, uh, that was my go-to thing. Is I have a degree in business real estate, very qualified to help you with your real estate needs. Without that, it'd be very tough to convince a client, to hire a brand new agent, 21 years old, that doesn't have any sort of background or anything like that. So that definitely helped me a lot.
For me, I can mask it because I'm old and I have gray hair.
Yeah, right, right.
So I have sales and marketing experience and but right. So that is part of what you do, like from a house perspective. I mean, obviously being an owner, but um, a lot, I had it from just being older, but clearly in the end of the day, right, you want to show that you're the expert. And what's also, I think, really great about you is that um I've become a much better broker and agent because I'm friends and contacts with flippers and investors, contractors, so I bring my network of people in on things
Yeah, it's
sometimes a
huge.
little bit earlier. And so part of what we do is really like I don't have to be the expert. I'm not an engineer, but if
Right.
I know an engineer and bring the engineer in to get in front of a problem before it be, to proactively solve things, then people call me the connector, right? So it's not like I have to be the expert. I want to bring the experts in. And certainly that's you have that in your family. So like, if
Yeah,
you're going to a
exactly.
house,
That's all part of the job. Absolutely.
right?
Is knowing the
If
right
you go
people,
to
connecting the right people. Yep.
if you go to a house and you see there's a crack in the foundation and you can start FaceTiming your father right away and be like, is this cosmetic or is this like something that's he goes, no, that's clearly cosmetic because of this, this, and this, or you know what? Let me come out there. So I can't tell you how many times by having that Rolodex of people to get them into, even before you're putting in offers makes you much more credible. And so
That's
Eddie, I
spot on.
definitely
Yeah.
that you have that. So that's really cool. So you know, I kind of I'm writing a book and I'm doing the adventures of a real estate broker because crazy stuff happens to us along the way.
Yeah,
So
it does.
I'm assuming even in between things that you've done before you were a sales associate and even now, what like give me an example of something that's just like you're gonna tell me and I'm gonna be like my jaw is gonna drop of like flying a seller, a situation that you're just like, that people would find quite interesting.
Ah, man, on the spot. I mean, I'll tell you one funny story. I mean, that I have off the bat. I mean, I remember I was showing a home, and if you're familiar with Harry Potter at all, I mean, it was a complete Harry Potter home, head to toe. I mean, footprints on the walls, like dungeons and dragons and all types of stuff everywhere. It was pretty unique. That was probably the craziest home I had shown. It was pretty breathtaking, and me and my clients were just looking at each other like, wow. But that
How
was
big?
just a
How
quick
big was
funny
the?
story.
How big was the house?
Probably like 2,200, 2,400 square feet, three bed plus den, three bath. single family. I mean, it was a nice home and a nice community, but that was a shock to walk in on that.
Did they name the rooms like Slithering and the different
Yeah, no, I
schools?
mean they had it all decked out, man. It was pretty crazy. Yeah. So
Did
we
did the
we were
house
in and
go
out of that
for
one.
did the house go for a premium?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I
No.
mean, you got to find, the problem is you pigeonhole yourself in there, right? And so maybe that's a better Airbnb, right? And showcase it as it's the Harry Potter Airbnb.
I guess so. Or you have a buyer that walks in that's the biggest diehard Harry Potter fan, and there you go, you got your sale. But
Exactly. How much of your business are investors and how much are people that are homeowners?
I would say if I had to put a percentage on it, I'd say probably 20% investors, 80% homeowners. Yeah.
And those investors, they just generally rent it, or are you involved in the Airbnb at all? How is your business in South Florida?
So it could be a combination. So most of them, I would say, are looking for investment properties for rentals, whether that's annual or seasonal. We're a big seasonal market down here in Southwest Florida, pretty much November through April. A lot of people coming down here to escape the winter months, et cetera. So a lot of people looking for that type of opportunity to rent it out because you can charge a big premium for the seasonal months. Also have plenty of investors looking for fix and flip opportunities, tear downs to build new construction, etc. And sorry, what was your other question?
I know it's just basic. So like when you're helping an investor, then generally the good thing about helping an investor is then they want you to find a tenant for that. So you're kind of right. You help
Oh,
them. They
so
sell it.
yeah,
They get it ready, and then they use you to help them. Get the tenant.
yeah. So I pretty much just strictly deal on purchases and sales. We have a in-house. So I work at Domain Realty here in Southwest Florida. We have an in-house property manager. So any of my clients that are looking to rent out their home, we have a guy that handles strictly seasonal rentals and a guy that handles strictly annual rentals. And I hand them off to him, and they take great care of them. I prefer to focus on what I do best, which is purchase and sales. I don't want to overextend myself and then kind of lose traction in certain areas. So we hand them off to our in-house property managers who take great care of them.
So my question is, do you get like a little bit of a commission
Oh yeah,
for?
oh
Yeah.
yeah, yep, yep. No, they take care of us. Yep,
So I love what you just said though, that you focus on what you're good at,
right.
because it does seem that a lot of people stretch themselves too thin and try to get into too many different, like, or people that, oh, I'm also a mortgage broker, I'm also an inspector, I'm all, at some point, you know then you're doing too many things and not any of them great. So
Exactly.
so while I do rentals and all that, though I do understand, for the most part it's residential. That's the focus. Um, but yeah, that I think that's great that you know what your specialty is and you're trying to focus on that, and you're using experts where appropriate. So I think that's
Absolutely. I will say though, as I primarily my primary business is residential purchases and sales. But with my degree in business real estate, which focus on the commercial side of things, I also do commercial as well. I've been really diving into the business broker world. Uh, Closed on a business like 2 or 3 months ago. Also doing that as well because a lot of people that are moving down to Southwest Florida are looking to bring their businesses down here or open a business as well as getting a new home. So I really like to consider myself almost a one-stop shop in that sense where I could help you, open or acquire a new business as well as get you a home down here. So that's kind of like I'd say my new unique kind of niche that I offer as well.
right. So I think that's always great to have that niche as well, because so for me, I started, I'm 55, so I started like 47 years old, and there were a lot of other people in my town. So didn't want to, I didn't need to be the best in my town. I just need to be me, right?
Right.
So I actually started with like Zillow leads and starting as buyers, because my view was just try to have transactions and try to get people to, when the transaction's over, be so happy that they work with me that they're going to give me a good review. So my
Yep.
my whole thing is work for the review. And probably about like my third or fourth year, I realized that I had 52 transactions that year, and it was 26 listings and 26 buyers. So
Huh. Wow.
because it's like I would never, some people say, oh, I'm only doing listings, right? To me, because my buyers have turned into listings, and so there's always an ebb and flow, right? So
Right.
I don't want to pigeonhole myself into one aspect of the business. I want to help people, right?
Yeah, that's a mistake. That's a mistake trying to do that because, like you said, the market's ever ebbing and flowing, and say you're only listing oriented, and then you get into a market where there's a surplus of inventory, listings are sitting on the market, and then you're screwed in a sense. You have, I mean, if you're only having listings, they're all sitting, then you're done. You need to have some buyers, so you
Right.
need to balance that out depending on the market.
And especially you talked about if you're trying to work for investors, well, investors are buyers and sellers, right? So
Right.
um, if inventory starts popping up, that's where, and maybe that's where sometimes we need to, I'm in a market right now, it's still a seller's market. But if the market turns
Really.
more to a buyer's market, well, that's probably when I might take more action and actually buy properties myself and then
Exactly.
use my construction right for the last bunch of years. I did buy a property with a contractor. He's a friend of mine. We still own it because it's a great rentable property, but right now there's too much money chasing too few homes, and so prices are I think so. It's not there's not like, oh my God, I got to buy that multifamily or I got to buy this. It doesn't happen so much, but I'm prepared for when I feel like there's too much supply, not enough buyers, that I'll then be able to like do that. But again, jumping in, my expertise is really helping people do that, not doing it myself.
Hmm.
Um, so that's why you have to know what you're good at. And, in a rising market, a lot of flippers have been able to buy things, not do great flips, and still make money,
Right.
right? But
Yeah.
but then you can get stuck, right? It's like musical chairs, right? Where all of a sudden the music stops and there's no chair for you to sit in because at some point the market slows down a little bit. Would you say that is Florida still Southern Florida
Yeah, I
still
was gonna
hot?
ask you where are you at, Daniel?
So I'm just north of Manhattan. So
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
in Westchester. I mean I'm licensed in Connecticut, New York, and I do business in other counties, but I would say that Westchester County, which is directly north of the Bronx, which
Yeah.
Bronx is New York City, is my market. So
Yeah.
my
So
main
talking with
market.
clients, I've heard that same type of thing up in that area, which is peculiar because down here it's actually quite the opposite. Since about I'd say April of 23, we've our market's been declining. We've been seeing a lot of inventory come on the market. Listings are pretty much just sitting stale for the most part. You know, buyers have a lot of leverage right now. I mean, any deals I'm doing are pretty much all on the buyer side. Most of my listings are pretty much sitting stale. Um, and we're beating up sellers on the buyer side. We're getting way below asking on our terms, and that's what we're seeing right now. So it's a very opportune time for buyers in our market down here. Plays part to quite a few factors. One, we're a very seasonal market down here. The summer months, not many people are down here. It's hot, so that leads to not as much demand leading up to election year as well. A lot of people sitting on the sidelines, kind of uncertain of where that's going. So waiting until that takes place, I have conversations with buyers almost every day that are saying, "Yeah, call me November 6th." Like I'm not
You
doing
know,
anything until then. So
sure. And it's also not good when condos fall into the ocean, right?
that's not good either. Yeah, yeah,
So there's like a lot of, and Florida has storms. And so you're right. There are a lot of things. And I guess my feeling, because I've helped a lot of people in New York buy condos in Florida over the years because everyone felt that it was like, oh, I'm going to buy a place, I can Airbnb it, especially with the pandemic, people can work from anywhere. But as we know, that dried up and too many people did it. right? So there's now too many Airbnbs. Um, I did that in the Panhandle, a little bit in South Florida, um, but so that's why you can't always, just because the other person's doing it doesn't always make sense, right?
Yep. Yep. But I do think we'll be seeing a market shift back towards more of that seller's market here post election. That's my feeling, at least. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball. But we're going to be seeing a few rate cuts here towards the end of the year, and they say every time a percent rate cut occurs, 4 million new buyers enter the market. So we'll see. But I think the most opportune buying time is between now and election time here in Southwest Florida, without a doubt.
Right.
For any of the viewers out there that are thinking about it, without a doubt, I think it's the most opportune time. Everything's just stale right now. A lot of opportunity, a lot of
Right.
inventory to choose from.
Right. So people are going to be afraid of what may or may not happen. I mean, my view is generally our country continues regardless of who's in leadership. It
I agree.
there's always an ebb and flow. Um, you know, I'm fiercely independent. So, I don't take sides in the sense of like I'm like, it is what it is, and you know, um, and
Gonna
we will
continue
get
to live
through.
your life. Yep.
We'll continue to live your life. We'll live through it. It's a shame that um, our politicians don't get in a room and try to help Americans, because if they got in a room and helped Americans, this side wouldn't always get what they want. That side wouldn't always get, but you would move things along. And so, you know,
Yeah.
we're much more rational, right? Two rational people. We would try to fix things. Nothing's perfect, and that's what we would try to do. So it's a shame that other people can't be like us. Um,
Yep.
just trying to make right, like with buyers and sellers, like people have different views, but you meet in the middle somewhere. And again, if inventory is high, then you're right. Then the buyers can do stuff. So it's interesting because during the pandemic, sellers kept raising prices because you could, right? Because
Right.
there wasn't
There's nothing
interest rates were
available. Yeah.
and with interest rates being so low, the
Yep.
Fed basically because there was a fear that the world would, or at least our country would shut down, and they lowered interest so low that it forced actually inflation on housing, right? Because
Yep.
people were like, "Oh, I have $5,000 a month to spend, so instead of four hundred thousand on a house, they could be 550." So they're like, "Oh, I can afford that." Um, Interest rates go up and down. So, that's just, but it did, but low interest rates did cause the inflation because it made people felt like they had to flee a city. They wanted a house. And then I mean, I think it is fair to say there was a lot of overspending, or at least spending that like was on turbocharge.
Absolutely. And those people that spent, they saw some great gains over those couple of years. So
And it's funny because when you complain about like, new homeowners and how much they had to pay, well, no one forced them to do it. They did it themselves. And then also it was whoever were those homeowners. So generally older Americans who were selling their family home ended up with windfalls. So you could argue that helped more graying of America, right? Get more money into their retirement accounts, or at least so again, no one forces anyone. Generally, people don't force people to buy and sell. They're doing it out of their own free will. Obviously, sometimes there are estate sales and things like that,
right.
and you know, but the forces. I'm sure again, you were in FSU. Economics is this amazing thing of supply and demand that seems to work, right?
Yeah, it's very, very simple concept. Yep.
And so that's in our job, right? So it's like when someone tells me sometimes it's funny because when people want me to give them comps, I'm like, well, comps are only a historical view of what might have happened. Maybe similar houses, never the exact house, a similar house in this marketplace. But if you're dealing with a newer builds, well, maybe they are much more similar. But where I am, not necessarily. All it is really a prediction, right? Well, it's actually all it is what happened in the past, not
Right.
necessarily what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm running comps, I never go further than 6 months back. Like, I remember I was just trying to negotiate a deal on a home because we're in a falling market down here. So when I'm representing a buyer, I'm really trying to beat up, the sellers and get
Right.
my
You
buyer.
really want to do 3 month look back, right? Because 6 months, you're like, that was sort of an eternity ago.
Yeah, yeah, I do six, but I mean, they were asking one point, I think it was 5.8 million on this home, and the listing agent, I'm negotiating back and forth. We offered 1.25. We're going back and forth, based off the comps. The comps were kind of showing, one high 1.3s, low 1.4s for within the past 6 months. She's like, oh, the neighbor sold the exact same home for $2 million. Other neighbor 2 million. I'm like, did not see this in my search. What are you talking about? And I was like, I turned my search all the way back. I'm like, are you talking about this home that sold 2 years ago? She's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, this conversation's done. Like, that she had no idea what she's talking about. Yeah.
There's also what's interesting with the whole thing with how NAR is changing things. My view is that our MLSs and NAR didn't do anything to help us as brokers, do anything to help buyers. They only really all they really tried to do was stop lawsuits, right? They wanted to stop getting sued
The only thing
because
that was to line the pockets of these lawyers, and they make
oh,
hundreds of millions of
but I
dollars. That's
except that lawyers sued without NAR didn't want them to sue, right? It's just
oh,
right. It's
of course
right.
not. Yeah,
But the settlement, they didn't have to settle, right? The settlement was basically to stop the lawsuits. But what's crazy is that they found, the original suit was in, I think, Kansas City, Missouri. And I think it was Missouri, not Kansas City, Kansas, but like every listing must have been at 6%. And or horrible lawyering, because if you looked at my book of business, you would see that they're all different amounts of
right.
things, and you would see that
It's all
there's
negotiation at the
it's
end of the
all
day.
negotiated.
So
If you looked at my book of business, it would be so apparent that it's a business decision between me and the owner and the buyer, and that it's 100%. And I'm a Remax, right? Remax paid, I think, 55 million to settle. Remax
yeah,
has never told me ever what money I should collect. It's not,
no.
it's,
The whole
it's,
thing was just for these lawyers to make hundreds of millions of dollars. Nothing has changed in my business other than having to have my buyers sign these forms. I've done a few buyer deals since this lawsuit went in action, and it's just basically, I don't know if you've done any commercial, but in the commercial side of business, there was never a percentage in the MLS or anything like that. You always
right,
negotiated the commission via
right.
email. So it's just the same. I'm getting paid the same I always was. I'm just negotiating with the other side, just like you do with anything else. And my buyers have to sign these forms, but now these lawyers had made hundreds of millions of dollars. That's really how I see
I,
it.
I
Could be
I
wrong,
agree.
but
I agree with you. And also I would say that, again, you're a much younger, more handsome Danny, right? So
I
like
appreciate it.
you're doing well. But like people like us, when we're talking to buyers, they're gonna get and they're gonna look at our reviews and they're gonna get that we know what we're talking about. So they have to pick someone to work with, right? And most agents, I mean, there's too many agents. Let's be honest, right?
Oh
Most
well,
agents
the only good thing
do
to come out of this was to maybe weed out some of those agents
sure
that
because
don't know what
if
they're
you
doing.
if you do the math of transactions, the average agent probably does like 2 deals a year. So I
Right.
did
That's what they
50
say.
last year. You're probably doing a hell of a lot too. So
Yeah.
um, ultimately, people are going to see, wow, look, Danny and Eddie are doing a lot of work. So let's work with them. And again, people that are using us as buyers agents, of course we have to make money. So,
Right.
it's we're going to be able to negotiate, we're going to be able to communicate with people, we're going to be able to put it in the deal. I have one deal right now. They're only offering 1.5%. I told them that I usually get somewhere between 2 to 2.5%, and I'm letting them choose. And I'm like, you tell me what you want. The house is like 1.9 million. So I'm okay with 2%,
Right.
clearly.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
um, again, I look at things not for today's transaction, but for the future. And I want these people to know that, I'm in it for the long haul with them. I want their friends, I want their family. And so, they know that 1.5% is not what's market rate is or what they even want to pay their agent for. I mean, I also negotiated furniture in on their deal for them. So they're getting a huge value. But in the end of the day, my life's not going to change from the 0.5% either. But I wanted to leave it up to them. So they'll either give me a tip or I'll change my buyer's agreement at the, when they tell me what it is. But right now it's 1.5%. They will tell me what it is and I'll accept it because again, um, I'm not going to be petty. They're not petty. And it's all about getting the transaction. 1.9 million is a decent transaction. And,
Oh
and
yeah.
and let's move on. So but that's what I actually bought my brokerage because it gives me a lot of flexibility in saying those things. But I also train my agents that they're independent contractors, and so I want them to make the same types of decisions for themselves. Like I have an agent, he he's very involved in his church, and his church just bought a house and they want to rent the house. And he asked
Hmm.
me, is it okay if we do it for no commission? I'm like, yes, because what is the rental? Let's call it $4,500. What half of it is 23.50, right? Like I rather his church see that he's a younger agent. I want his church to see that he's donating and I'm donating the money to their church
Yeah, no, it's a
because
good cause. Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
a good cause and the
Right.
benefit of that is going to be so it's not always about money and so sometimes you make business decisions, right? um
Right. At the
Listen, if
same time,
someone
though, like you said, we can't work for free, and we have to do ourselves and the rest of the real estate industry. You know, we get to treat our job with respect, and I've fought tooth and nail since this law settlement for selling side that wasn't trying to pay me commission, and I fought tooth and nail and I got it done. And they were trying to offer me under 2%, and I wasn't going for that.
right, you're
So
like you can well it's clearly you have your business, right? So it also depends on the price of the house, right? Because
oh,
if
big
some
time. Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah. If it's
if
a
someone asked you to
multi-million
list
dollar property, then I'm
right, if
not going to
someone
be
asked you to list
greedy.
a
Yeah,
$5 million house, you might do it at 1% because that's a lot of money, right?
right, right.
So,
Yeah,
but ultimately we're independent contractors, right? You're going to make a business decision that makes sense for you and also how much the effort is. Just because it's 5 million doesn't mean it's easy. It might be really hard. Just because,
right.
sometimes the $3 million ones are actually easier than the $400,000 properties.
Always, always. Actually, for
So,
me, in my
so,
experience.
so I have so talk to me about how you view work-life balance. Obviously you're
Oh, that's
trying to build your
huge.
business, but what are some of the things that techniques you do and how do you react with your clients?
Yeah, no, that's huge for me. I mean, I see many people in my industry that have no work-life balance. It's all work, and at the end of the day, they're pretty miserable. I treat my balance. I pay a lot of attention to that. I really try and treat my job almost like a 9 to 5 in a sense, to where I'm always available 9 to 5. After that fact, I'm really not taking too many calls. I take that time to spend with my family, my friends, hit the gym, take care of myself. And I really try not to work weekends too much. I know that's kind of a crazy thing to say in the real estate industry. A lot of business happens on the weekends, but I try to take the weekends for myself. Obviously, I have to do open houses and, sometimes for my listings, etc. But that's kind of how I treat my work-life balance. Down here in Southwest Florida, my two favorite things to do are fish and golf, and that's why I love living down here, man. I mean, it's world class down here, and those are my two favorite things I like to do. And so I, try to get out on the boat on a Saturday or hit the golf course on a Sunday and kind of reset and get ready to attack the work week coming Monday.
What are so my work-life balance not so good, but I feel I like that I can well, I say that I control my schedule. I really don't because my clients do. But
Yeah.
again, I love what I do. It doesn't have a problem. When I'm a golfer too, and I'm actually a member of the Golf Writers of America, and I'm on the board of the Metropolitan Golf Writers
Oh, no
Association.
kidding.
So, I do want, we're going to talk about golf in a second, but
Yeah, man.
uh,
If you're ever in Southwest Florida, you gotta give me a call. We'll get out there.
so what's interesting is when I'm it's funny because when I'm golfing, my wife is like, "You're golfing." The people that I'm golfing with are like, "You're working," because I'm always going to be on the phone. Like my expert, or I guess my niche is that if you looked at what people said on Zillow or Google about me, that I'm always available, and but I want that, and I don't mind that that's what it is. I'll certainly when I'm doing stuff, but like I went on a safari and for over Christmas, I'm still working because you know what? If I'm on a if I'm like on the actual on the cheap and I can send a text, what's the difference? I'm still like looking at elephants and looking at lions
Oh
and
yeah.
and so but yes, but that allows me to do those other things. But I that's what's great about our job is that each of us can design the
Right.
workflow that you want, and then you push it into that way. And certainly Southwest Florida could be a little bit different, where maybe there's a little bit less on the weekdays and maybe more people coming down for the week. So I mean, obviously you're getting the workflow that makes sense for you. And so if and we adapt when we need to adapt. But
Exactly. And that's exactly right. I mean, we're a very seasonal market. So, in the summer months, I have a lot more time on my hands to do the things I like, fish, golf, etc. When I'm in season though, that changes. So you enjoy the slow seasons, enjoy your hobbies, but then you enjoy the busy seasons where you're, pedal to metal grinding. I mean, I jumped into the craziest market ever when I first joined the industry, man. I mean, 2020, or I guess it was I graduated in 2020. I started in January of 2021. That's like peak COVID. I mean, in my first month in the business, I had 4 pending deals, and I pretty much had no real clue what I was doing in the
right.
actual real estate industry. And I mean, I remember being at the gym, hitting a set of bench, had my laptop right there, typing up a contract, hit another set. Like, I mean, that's how it was when I first got in the industry,
That's
heads
crazy.
spinning. I mean, all day, every day. So you take it with the season and where you're at. So not like you said, you just got to adapt. Yeah.
So talk to me about some of your favorite courses that you played, either in Florida or elsewhere.
So I'm pretty new to the game. Growing up, I was always football, basketball, track. Football was my main sport. And I just picked up golf about 2.5 years ago, and I mean I got the bug bad. I mean I love it, man. I'll before going to bed thinking about my swing, how I can make it better, keeping me up at night, etc. But so I've only really played courses down here in Southwest Florida, which Naples, where I live, it actually has the most golf courses per capita in the United States. It's a golf haven. So
Right.
I'm trying to play every one of the courses down here. Probably never will, but I've played probably 50 courses down here. I'd say my favorite one probably is probably Tiburon, TPC Tiburon, TPC Treviso Bay is a nice one as well.
PPC Tampa Bay a lot. I played the concession. My parents have a house in Sarasota. I played the concession club a couple times.
Okay.
Um, but there were 56 golf courses in the county that I live in. I've played all of them. Um, and I'm actually in the next 3 weeks going to be playing a course called Bethpage Black,
Okay.
um, Wingfoot, and Century Golf Club. So all historic. My actually one of
Wow.
my clients is the chef at Century. Um, and then we're playing Bethpage, and so and I have an invite to Marion. So I
Wow.
am an elitist, not in dress in anything, but my golf where I get to play is quite special.
Yeah, that's gonna be a
Be-
treat.
yeah, but here's the problem. As I've become busier in golf, busier in real estate, I say that I'm a scratch real estate broker, but I'm a high handicap golfer. So I used to be like an 8. I'm probably now like a 12 or a 13 because I can't find the fairway, but I can find you that house on Zillow. So
That's how it happens, man. That's how it
you
happens.
know,
My summer during the summer months, I'm playing pretty well. In season, not too well because I don't have too much time to play. So
exactly. So but you're an athlete, you played football. You didn't play at FSU at all, did you?
no, no.
Yeah.
had a few offers here and there coming out of high school, but decided to just go to school,
Well,
get
that,
my degree.
you know what, in the long run, that's good. Um, Golf is, like, you can't play football forever, so
Right.
it's certainly, if you're in, being the desire and and the thrill of it, at least golf, you can always try to get yourself a little bit better, right? So that's always trying to improve.
Absolutely. And it's great for the real estate business, man. You connect with so many people. I mean, just going around all these clubs around town, I'll play with, random guys, get matched up with random guys, get talking. A lot of these, golf courses are in, nice, country club communities. So you're making connections all over the board, meeting great people, and you get to talk a little business out there. It's a great sport, man. Like you
Yeah.
said, play for the rest of your life. So I'm loving it. And I live in the best area to,
Yeah,
love to
no,
do it. So,
I'm almost getting shut down now, but like I probably have a couple weeks to go. But my view is
oh, right.
really,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like to play when it's too cold, too rainy. I'm like, I'm
Right.
done. So I generally probably stop after October, and I won't pick it up. Maybe sometime in March. It depends. Um,
Yeah.
it depends if I have a trip or something like that. But that's when I'm like much more real estating, because I'm not, I try to go out maybe twice a week during the week,
Nice.
during the year. So but so um I guess the question is real estate your dream career, or what would be your dream career if it wasn't real estate?
No, real estate's it, man. I love it. And I got some, really big plans moving forward. And I just want to continue to expand and grow and just create, a really big business down here and a big presence. Other than that, it would be professional football player, but those dreams are long gone.
Exactly. Well, the
Yeah.
Giants might need a couple of players. They
No,
stink this
man,
year.
I'm a big Eagles guy. I'm a big Eagles guy.
Ah,
So no, thank you.
the Jets are more of my team, which I'm,
There you go. You had a squad this year. Yeah.
we are 2-1 so far this year, but you know what?
I know the
That can,
Jets. Oh yeah.
well,
It's
so I
typically,
was 1969 was when I was born, and that was the last year they won. So
yeah. Oh, I know it, man. You guys, something always seems to happen, but I'm pulling for you guys this year. I'm pulling for you
so
guys.
we'll see. But what else do you see? So right now you do see that it's a little bit more of a buyer's market.
Absolutely.
Um, but you think
Yeah.
that might change, after the election.
I really
You know,
think so. Yeah.
and then I guess you'll see that it's more the snowbirds coming back down, reinvesting in new real estate
Multiple
probably.
factors. So yeah, that always happens. I mean, half of our population leaves in May, April, May, and then half of it returns in November. I mean, we're a huge seasonal market down here. So the roads will be twice as busy, the restaurants and shops will be twice as busy, the beach will be twice as busy, be twice as many people down here. So that's one factor that's always prevalent every year. Another factor is the interest rate cuts that are supposed to be happening. Supposed to get two more cuts before the end of the year. That's going to bring a lot more demand and a lot more buyers in the market. And then three, this election ending and all those uncertain buyers sitting on the fence, will jump off the fence and come back into the market. So those three factors combined, really think it's gonna drive the demand up, shrink the inventory, and simple economics. That will mean prices will probably start ticking back up down here. So
Do you think that most of the investors that come down still finance, or are they using like retirement funds and try to be more cash?
no, it's hard to make an investment make sense right now if you're financing. It really is. It's almost impossible from what my experience has seen. It's mostly cash or 1031 exchanges.
Right, right. So that, I mean, that clearly makes sense, right? Where people are sitting on money, they want to have this other place. Um,
Yeah,
and ultimately it's your job. Like, a lot of people sometimes ask us, well, what would you do? Well, it's like, I'm not you, right? So it's like,
yeah,
you know, it's your house. It's your, do you want a master bedroom? Do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want the backyard? So, but ultimately, I guess what we have to do is listen to our customers and what they're saying about what's important to them, and then we have to find the right situation that makes sense for them.
yeah. I mean, when I first got in the business, when rates were 2, 3%, it was the total opposite. I mean, people are like, I have free money to spend right now, man. I'm just going to buy as much as I can with financing. So it's ever changing and ebbing and flowing, like you said. So if we see rates get back to the
right. You
fives,
saw it go.
maybe
You saw it go up to 8. 1979 was my parents bought a house and
18%, right?
it was like 18 and had been
Crazy.
21%.
Yeah,
So, but the house was at like $88,000. So it's a little,
yeah,
but again, salaries were less. I mean, in the end of the day, our country's very resilient. There's an ebb
yep,
and flow. Um, there are buyers, there are sellers. We just have to, be nimble, right? And be able to be flexible to work with our clients. And so it seems like you've in a very short term. Well, first of all, you went to college, you studied the business, you have family in the business, and now and you've really been active and working and dealing with people and dealing with the market. And so when the market changes, you're going to be able to roll with it. And
absolutely.
that's really what it's about. And so um, thank you, Eddie, for coming on for this
Yeah,
week.
man. Thanks for
I
inviting me out.
appreciate it. It's good to meet new people from around the country. And obviously, if people are looking in South Florida, Eddie's your guy. He will
Absolutely.
he will take care of you. And it's Daniel Berger for another edition of The Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. Until next time.
Thanks for joining me on The Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. I hope you enjoyed our time together as much as I did. If you laughed, learned something, or just had a good time, do yourself a favor and subscribe to the podcast. A big shout out to our sponsor, RE/MAX Prestige Properties, for making this all possible. Remember to leave a review if you enjoyed the show. It helps more people find us. Until next time, keep it real, keep it fun, and keep exploring the adventures in your neighborhood. I'm Daniel Berger, your New York Realtor, and I'll see you in the next episode.